welcome back to another video where we're back in the Ferrari and we're at Monza combined. Can we survive our way around the oval section as well as the notorious turn 1? Join me and let's find out. So as we're about to get going here, guys, Jose out in front is going to be backing us up, kind of teasing us a little bit of when we're going to start this race. He's going to leave it very late getting going as the guy behind us nearly crashes into us. So we get going here. Jose gets a bit of a jump on Mark. So Mark is vulnerable to us right now, but we don't have any slipstream. We're kind of hung out to dry here, and I'm blocked on my right side by Lorenzo. So we're going to swap positions here with Lorenzo because he has the draft and the inside line. And right now we're trying to hang on to the back of these two guys out in front and not have an incident with Lorenzo. Initially we get going a pretty good run here. As you can see in the mirrors, there's a bit of a gap between us and the car behind. So we've got a group of 4 here that are going to be battling it out for the race. So trying to go up the inside, we get a position there on Lorenzo with the draft, and then Jose kind of cuts us off a little bit. He was fine to do that. That's nothing bad there. I just slightly overreacted and lost a little bit of momentum there. Gerald and Jan behind us are going to come off this oval section and collide, as you can see here, and it's going to take the 2 of them out, so that gives us even more breathing room to the cars behind. That just looked really weird in my mirrors. I saw the car spin out, I heard the noise, and I just gave a sigh of relief that I don't have them coming into turn 1. So Lorenzo brakes early. We go up the inside. Kind of wasn't anticipating him braking that early, but we go up the inside. We give him plenty of space on the apex of the left-hander. He keeps the position nice and clean, no major incidents, and Mark and Jose don't collide either. So turn 1 at Monza can be achieved nice and clean in top split apparently. We're going to try and put Lorenzo off here by just keeping a little bit left, hoping that he runs a little bit deep through here. We get a nice run out of the second chicane coming up to the Lesmos. I'm going to keep to the inside, kind of putting Lorenzo off, seeing if I can spook him off the racing line. I do spook him off. We weren't anywhere near alongside him. He got a little bit concerned with his mirrors, and that can happen sometimes, so he doesn't turn in, and that keeps him wide, which runs him wide on the exit, which gives us a much better run. He also loses a position to Zane behind, so those two are going to be side by side and battling coming up to Ascari. That has cost us a little bit of time to the 2 cars in front, so right now my goal is to try and catch up to both Mark and Jose up in front, because I want to keep on their draft, because otherwise I'm going to be vulnerable around the kind of oval section. Just one of those things that I want to try and be within a second if I can, just to keep the slipstream effect for this race. But we're under pressure from Zane immediately already, so coming around onto the start-finish straight for the combined circuit, we're already vulnerable to Zane behind, because you gain a lot of time on the oval section just from slipstreaming. And that's something I don't necessarily like about this track, and there's other tracks like some of the Rovals where it becomes a slipstream fest, and even Le Mans to an extent with the slower cars. It negates any advantage you have going through, let's say, chicanes or the Lesmos or Parabolica in the Grand Prix circuit. So any advantage you have there, you could be a second a lap almost quicker around the Grand Prix section, but you lose it immediately just because of the slipstream around the oval section. It does keep the pack a little tighter, just because it gives the cars behind a big, huge advantage. If we're side by side with Zane, he's going to gain a position here on the oval just because he was able to slipstream past us. We're going to keep the cars tight as we can with Zane, not necessarily blocking Lorenzo behind, but trying to not make it a 3 wide, just deliberately placing the car in a position that is going to make it difficult for him to make a 3 wide. He thinks about it. We cut across in front of Lorenzo Zane, just because we had the entry, and I wanted to keep it tight into turn 1. Lorenzo doesn't get the best run into the second part of the chicane, so we cut across and in a decisive move make sure that he's not going to send one up the inside. He backs off, we get a good run out of the chicane. So we keep 3rd place again despite losing it on the oval section. The slipstream down the start-finish straight was powerful enough for us to get past Zane, and then just decisive move as we make a little bit of a mistake through the second chicane. But yeah, a decisive move allows us to keep the position. We're going to come into the Lesmos here. Jose doesn't get a good run. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he slowed up a little bit, so he's going to lose a little bit of time to Mark. They were squabbling a little bit coming into that, into Lesmo 1, so don't know if they touched or if he ran wide or just missed a gear shift or something, but yeah, we caught up a little bit to him. And right now, this was a better position for this next lap than it was for the previous lap, because now I have a little bit of slipstream to Jose in front, and I'm hoping that he could potentially drag us up to Mark in front. But he gets it absolutely wrong coming out of Ascari, and now I get the position, but I actually kind of didn't want the position at this point in the race. I kind of wanted him just to give me slipstream, and that way then he can potentially drag me up towards Mark, who was in first, and now Mark has got a nice little bit of a gap between himself and myself, and now I'm looking vulnerable to Lorenzo, Jose and Zane behind, because they're all within a second, so to speak. Like Lorenzo and Jose are within a second, and Zane's not far behind them, so he's going to get drafted off them, so he's getting a double draft. So I'm now looking vulnerable. Mark is going to get pretty much a clean run. He's talking here, you might notice that he's catching up to a back marker, and I heard him on the radio saying to the back marker at this stage, don't pull over, don't just let me by, give me slipstream. And I was thinking to myself, oh god, no, please let me catch up, I'm so vulnerable here. And you can see in the rear view mirror they're catching me so quickly, and the slipstream on this track is so powerful that just one half loop of the oval and they've already caught up to me, and they were like 3/4 of a second behind. But yeah, we lose a position to Jose, kind of keeping it tight again between us and him, trying not to let Lorenzo have any kind of 3 wide situation, not presenting any major opening. You can see we're keeping tight to Jose, and Zane's going to go up the kind of outside of Lorenzo. Lorenzo breaks a little early. Zane goes side by side with us. I'm thinking, can I keep it tight here? Which I do. I give him plenty of space, and we keep our position because we get a much better drive than Zane. Zane didn't get the best run in the left-hander part of that chicane, the kind of middle part to exit. So we keep the position, and we live to fight another day. And we're learning that from the first few laps of this race, we can run side by side with, let's say, Zane and Lorenzo. I have not run side by side with Jose much, so I'm kind of thinking maybe we could be respectful and not have any major incidents going side by side, as we could both kind of run wide, Jose and I. That I believe was my one and only off track of this race. So we have a 1x, and we're trying to keep the gap with Jose in front. It's 1.2 seconds. We've lost a little bit of time. I'm hoping to see if he can maybe make a mistake going through Ascari again, that we can catch up again. But Lorenzo and Zane are about a half a second behind, and we're looking vulnerable again. I lose a little bit of time to Jose in front. I was being cautious. Just couldn't quite get the entry into Ascari right consistently. I hadn't raced this track in a while. I did race it in season 1 of this year, and I needed to work on a few little bits and pieces with Ascari. It's the one corner in this track I don't feel confident in, and I've talked about that in season 1 where I messed around with some settings after racing here, and I was able to gain some lap time, and I still had that lap time. I qualified with a 2-minute 45, kind of mid 2-minute 45. I know I can go low 2-minute 45, but my qualifying was around mid 2:45. So whereas previously in season 1 I was doing 2-minute 46s, kind of low to mid 2-minute 46. So yeah, about a second a lap faster, and I'm thinking that could be down to just a little bit of a setup tweak with my wheelbase, as well as just being better on the brakes overall. So definitely improving. So I'm going defensive here, kind of trying to keep the inside line for both the oval section and coming down the main straight into turn 1, with Zane catching up to us. He's going to be on our left side. I'm watching him in VR here. This is a replay, so I'm watching him a little bit, just keeping an eye, see if how close he is and how much I can run wide here. I can't really run very wide here, but I keep it tight to the right side of the track, and I'm starting to slowly push him over towards the left to try and open up the chicane as much as I can from my first for the inside line, and I'm trying to keep him out as wide as possible. He gives us space, he turns in, but I'm side by side. He gives us space. He's a very aggressive second part to that corner for the left-hander, but that compromises his exit because he comes in hot and he has to brake hard, whereas I don't. I had to lift off to avoid an accident, but I got a much better drive than he did, and I keep the place and I go defensive here just to make sure that he doesn't have a second kind of like thought about sending one up the inside. He'd have to go around the outside here as Jose goes off track there, and I lost a little bit of time to Jose thanks to that move into the first chicane, but then coming through the second chicane we noticed that Jose has run wide again. He was very quick. He would gain a lot of lap time on us. Just you may notice it over the race that he's just gaining. We're losing time to him here every so often, and then he runs a little bit wide and we gain back up to him. So second place is not out of the question yet. I think Mark is probably a little too far ahead at this stage and he's a little bit too consistent. Unless he has a major kind of mistake. Maybe he clips a curb coming in or out of a scar and sends it into the wall. But right now we're looking at either second, third, and depending on how Zane and Lorenzo work the draft, we could potentially go down to fifth. So it's all to play for right now. Coming up to the end of lap 4. So we're losing a little bit of time to Jose in front. We're not going to have draft. I was desperate to get the draft coming around the oval, but we're not going to get it this lap, and Zane and Lorenzo are going to have draft on me, so I'm looking vulnerable again. So that second place is looking a little bit unlikely right now coming on to lap number 5, but there's only 2 laps to go, so I'm trying to see if I can hold on to third as best I can. And obviously I'm trying to push as hard as I can to try to get to second and hope that Jose makes a mistake that we can capitalize on. But right now I'm very firmly looking in my mirrors and seeing what Zane and Lorenzo are doing and how quickly they're catching me. So we're coming down onto the kind of back straight of this oval section. I keep it wide here. I didn't want to swing across to the right. I was just thinking, it's not going to really help me. We're going to go side by side again into turn 1, and we're just going to keep leapfrogging. I was thinking possibly playing a little bit of strategy here of just hanging behind them for the final lap. That's going to be the next lap, and I'm thinking if I hang out behind them, then I can potentially make a big kind of strategy move and pass them on the oval rather than them passing me on the oval. I knew I was faster around the Grand Prix section, but yeah, we're going to see if they make a mistake into turn 1. I backed out early here because I was worried that they were going to make contact here, and I was thinking, give myself a little bit of breathing room. They don't. It's very respectful racing from the two of them, and that's a really good thing just to see that we can consistently go into turn 1 of Monza and not have an accident and even go side by side on a few instances. So yeah, just holding on to the back of Lorenzo here. Zane's out in front. He's in third right now. Jose is just there again. He's made a couple of mistakes again. He's running wide. Both Zane and Lorenzo run wide out of the second chicane, gifting me 2 positions. Coming into the Lesmo here, I run a little bit wide here, and so does Zane, so I don't lose any time to him behind, but we've lost a little bit of time to Jose again. That kind of happened a lot in this race. Jose would make a mistake, but I couldn't capitalize on it to the maximum potential just because the draft was so strong, and Zane and Lorenzo would be coming up behind me, and then we'd be battling into turn 1, and I'd lose kind of momentum and we'd lose pace, and maybe I could have driven a little better there and maybe not fought it and tried to catch Jose. But I was thinking I really, really, really want this third position. If I get second, it's a bonus, but I really wanted third. I did not want to lose. I didn't know it at the time because I don't usually run this overlay in the race. I just use the standard iRacing overlay, and I use iOverlay for you guys so you get a better understanding what's going on. But you can see that Mark has 2.6k, Jose was 2.4. I'm at the start of this race was a 2.1, and then Zane and Lorenzo are 1.5, 1.7 respectively. So coming on to the last lap of this race, we've got a bit of a gap between us and Jose, so unless he makes a mistake, it's unlikely we're going to catch him. Mark has gone out in front. He's got a massive gap, so as long as he keeps it consistent as well, it's going to be first and second for those two. And since they're under no pressure and it's unlikely that Jose is going to catch Mark in kind of one lap, I don't think he's pushing as hard as he can, but he's still faster, and they both had a little bit of slipstream off back markers as well at the perfect time, whereas I did not. But yeah, we're vulnerable to Zane and Lorenzo behind. We're keeping it tight on the kind of lower part of the banking. They haven't caught us yet, so they're going to catch us down the main straight of the Grand Prix circuit, coming down towards turn 1. So I'm thinking already, how do I play this? Do I go wide? Do I go outside? No, I decide to keep it tight to the wall, not let them up my inside. I know I can go side by side and still get a better drive out of the chicane, so I'm letting Zane go past me here. I'm trying not to let Lorenzo have an opportunity. Zane breaks in the middle of the track, going a little bit defensive, compromises his entry as well as slows him up. We do touch there a little bit, but we don't lose a position to Lorenzo, which is great. We've now only got Zane to worry about, and I know around the Grand Prix section of this track, I was feeling confident, feeling quick. And with a little bit of slipstream, I could potentially make a move happen, but we're running out of opportunities here. We're a little bit too far back. I go a little bit defensive into the second chicane. We're a little bit too far back to make a move on Zane, but we go a little bit defensive not to let Lorenzo think about an opportunity here. Coming up to the Lesmos, I know that Zane, historically from watching him, comes in a little bit wide. You can see he takes it a little bit wide, but we get a better run, so we're catching up to him again a little by little. Lesmo 2, again, catching up to him, better drive out of that corner than he did in the midpoint. We got a better run through, carrying more speed. So we're starting to catch him now. We gained 2/10 of a second through Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. Coming up to Ascari, I was not going to make a move here, but I wanted to kind of throw him off by making him think I was going to make a move and having him look in his mirrors. That does put him off a little bit, so we get a much better run out of Ascari. And he's going to stick to the inside, and I'm going to be on the outside. I did at this point think, crap, I should have just really swung it around to the inside line. So we're coming up to Parabolica here now, and I'm hoping that I can outbrake him. We break roughly around the same point. I give him space, but I'm going to get a much better run out of Parabolica than he does, and that gives me a breathing room for third place. So we're going to come across the line in third place. A lot of fun this race. I don't normally like this track because of the drafting, as I said, but very happy with that third place result. Lots of really fun, fair, hard racing with some really good defensive maneuvers by myself, so I was very happy with that race. Cutting to the results, you can see here that was top split 18:57. This was about 9:45, 10:15 at night, midweek, so possibly not the strongest strength of field, but I was happy with the result, and the only two people that were ahead of me had much better iRating. So we gained iRating, stopped the rot from last week at Okayama, so happy with that, improving this week. And if you like this video, guys, like, comment, subscribe, it all helps the channel. Hope to catch you in the next video next week, and look out for another upcoming F4 video where we race at Okayama for some redemption.